I hope I got that correctly. She's
What is this thing?
member of the KDI as an expert. And of course, I have Tracy Pesci, also to my right.
I don't know why this thing is
She's
showing
also an
like
expert,
this.
collection expert with decades of experience. And also, I also
Not even
have
that one. There was something that happened.
also to my
I
right,
just say idiot.
that I've worked and traversed greatly in the continent, most especially on issues related to elections. And for my own self, I'm Dr. John Adebayo. I lead the research team of KDI. And to my left is Mercy Habian. She's program manager with KDI, and of course, Abiodun Manjoko, senior program manager in charge of citizen participation. Thank you so much for coming, and I think we'll go directly into the reading of the statement. The KPAC's Development Initiative preliminary statement on the ongoing 2025 off-cycle Anambra State Governorship elections 8th of November 2025.
Excuse me.
It's with great pleasure to welcome you to the unique election day press briefing organized by KPAC's Development Initiative under the Nigerian Election Violence Education and Resolution Project for the 2025 Anambra State off-cycle governorship elections holding today, of course, today Saturday, November 8, 2025. Across the 21 local governments, the senatorial district, which is 3 of them, federal constituencies 11, 326 registration area, and of course, 5718 polling units. You will all recall that there are 2 polling units announced by INEC not to have any registered voter. So that means that elections were conducted in 5718 polling units. The briefing aimed to provide real-time insights into the ongoing electoral process, including field observations, incident reports, and preliminary findings from the KDI deployed observer, which is 370 joint observers deployed across the state. The objective of the briefing is to keep you, the public, and all stakeholders, including the media, informed, highlighting the emerging issues, trends, and of course, making any recommendations that could help contribute to improving the process as we move, to the other parts of the process, which is the sorting, counting, and collations. As an organization, we are committed to democratic integrity, civic participation, and of course, peaceful process in the elections. Through our interventions that continues to track and document issues of electoral related incidents such as security breaches, voter intimidation, and generally the acts of violence that are related to elections. And of course, potential for violence, such as logistical challenges, vast functionality, vote trading, and interference from party agents. While we do this, we also spotlight instances of transparency and compliance with electoral guidelines. The 2025 Anambra governorship election for us is a critical test of Nigerians' democratic resilience, given the significance of the polls in Anambra as we move ahead to the next general elections. And I will go directly to giving us an update of to talk about the KDI election day data room. The KDI election day data room serves as the central coordination, verification, and analytical hub for managing real-time election observation and incident data. It is the operational backbone of KDI's election day observation methodology, linking verified field reports to decision makers, partners, and the public through our structured and transparent workflow. I know many of us who visited today and some of us yesterday to see some of the things we've been able to do. I know before now there are some briefing around the data we've been able to get. to some of the stakeholders. So, in view of that, the EDDR operates in continuous shift throughout the election period, ensuring uninterrupted monitoring, verification, and of course responses as much as possible because we escalate to stakeholders. It is managed by a multidisciplinary team organized into functional units with clearly defined roles, shift arrangement, and reporting lines. This structure enables efficient receipt, verification, analysis, and visualization of all submission. The KDI EDDR was set up, of course, in the state and opened yesterday, and of course till this moment. It provides the structured, phase-specific observation framework to allow KDI to generate the real-time data. So basically, for today and across the 21 local government, we were able to get data from over 1,000 polling units in the state through the KDI Nigeria reporting app with over 300 trained observers deployed across the local government. And of course, it's also safe to acknowledge the fact that the reports or the local government are the polling units are across the local government and of course across the 3 senatorial districts. So all of this was sent from our field observers to the field, from the field to the data room, where the information is sifted, verified, and analyzed by the KDI data analyst. And of course, we also have the communication framework, and that's why we're here. The communication framework balances the internal coordination, public transparency, stakeholders engagement, while maintaining the integrity, legality, and ethical standard of all verified data shared externally. And of course, to the key observation, and I will allow to pick it from the key observation. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I will take some aspects of the key observations as finding. The first would be the arrival and commencement of polls. The election day data room received reports on arrival from 1,016 polling units across Anambra State. Analysis shows that INEC officials and election materials were reported to have arrived late in 32.15% of those units, while in 67.85% materials arrived earlier. Nevertheless, in the polling units observed, voting commenced after 8:45 a.m. in close to 50% of the polling units. KDI observed that late commencement was due to absence of INEC officials in some places, voters, and at other instances, INEC Akwa officials linked the late commencement to the absence of security officials, without which they couldn't move from the rack to commence the voting process for security purposes. The second would be BVAC's functionality. KDI observed that BVAC devices function optimally in 95.6% of the polling units monitored across the state. A few polling units, about 2.64%, experienced minor network-related disruptions, which were promptly resolved in several cases. In some other locations, BVACs failed to capture fingerprints, requiring officials to revert to official authentication to complete the voter verification process. However, devices broke down in about 1.76% of the polling units observed. The third element will be the secrecy of the ballots. KDI observed widespread compromise of ballot secrecy across several polling units. Voters were seen openly displaying their marked ballot party agents after voting, a practice that fosters vote trading and undermines the integrity of the electoral process. In many instances, party agents were observed leading voters away from the polling units after confirming their votes to get the reward for voting in certain direction. Evidence from fields suggests a concerted level of tacit consensus among multiple political party agents in perpetuating this practice. The fourth element is the party agent conduct and interference. One of the most concerning developments observed across polling units is the pervasive interference by political party agents in the voting process. Our observation documentation shows systematic violation of the presenting primarily the All Progressive Grand Alliance Akwa, the All Progressive Congress APC, and the Young Progressives Party YPP. Party agents have been observed engaging in blatant vote buying operations, approaching voters with cash inducement ranging from 3,000 to 10,000, establishing verification points where voters receive payment after casting their ballots. These violations represent a fundamental assault on the integrity of the electoral process, undermining the principles of free, fair, and credible elections, while the failure of INEC officials and security personnel and affected polling units to curtail these activities raises serious concern about the enforcement of electoral guidelines and protection of voters' rights. I will hand over to my colleague to continue with the recommendations.
So for security deployment, conduct of security officials, while the Nigerian police and broadly the Interagency Consultative Committee on Elections announced the deployment of approximately 5,000 security personnel for the Anambra State governorship election across all 5,718 polling units. Field reports from our observers revealed a troubling disconnect between these figures and actual ground presence. Our observers have documented patterns on uneven distribution of security personnel at polling units, with many locations having minimal or no visible security presence, while security forces appear concentrated at strategic locations. There were reports of security concentration in Anambra South, like Akwa, but major urban centers and semi-urban local government areas seem to have sparse. Reports show that in Akwa South, the Akwa South LGA won 19 PU polling units 21. As at 9:57 a.m., no security officer was seen. In terms of violence, so far, KDI recorded 21 incidents of violence across over 1,000 polling units observed. These incidents involved group clashes, voter intimidation and harassment, physical assault, and ballot box matching. Of the reported cases, 7 in Oyi, 3 occurred in Obaru, in Jikoka, and 1 in Anambra East, Anyocha, Nnewi North, Orumba, and Nnewi South. The perpetrators were identified as party agents and voters, with one incident involving a security officer who discharged tear gas at a polling location. In terms of voter turnout, preliminary observations from KDI field reports indicate low voter turnout across several polling units. Observers noted that many polling stations were sparsely populated, with some officials still seated with only 2 to 5 voters waiting in line. While turnout appeared low in the early hours, it is hoped that more voters will come out before the close of polls.
Now call to action based on the observations. KDI called on all stakeholders, including voters, party agents, security personnel, and electoral officials, to maintain peace, calm, and decorum throughout the electoral process. We reiterate the importance of transparency at every stage of the election and emphasize that the final result must truly reflect the will of the people. We urge voters to come out to cast their votes as the election is still in progress. Remain calm, queue patiently, and follow the instructions of the election officials to ensure a smooth process. Citizens are also encouraged to report any irregularities they observe through official channels such as the INEC helpline and other credible civic platforms, such as KDI's toll-free line on 080000010000. Collective vigilance patience, and adherence to due process are vital to safeguarding the credibility of the polls.
Thank you so much. I think that is the preliminary statements and findings for Impact Development Initiative. We will continue to put an eye on this process, and as it is now, I know the time is close, or even not that we are at the point where sorting, counting, and collation will start. We'll also put an eye on it, and at the moment, KDI will be moving into what we call the ballot integrity project, or the phase of our intervention, where we now start looking at the process of election result management. I think at this point, it's just to ask if there are any questions, clarifications. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. I am Princess AP Bachelor of the Anambra Broadcasting Service. During your interactions, you spoke about the incidences you witnessed in Uri. Actually, I covered Uri, but I know there are polling units where there were no security officials, the markets were open, and the rest of them. I didn't register any of the incidences. So can you tell me exactly in the community happened? Thank you.
Okay, so thank you so much. I think for us at the Oyilugu government, first of all, I'll start by letting you know what we will define as violence-related incident. I think just to say at first that it's not just fatality that is violence to us. Intimidation and harassment were mostly some of the things we reported in those polling units. Beyond intimidation and harassment, we also see cases where there are serious and intense arguments that pose or cause. For us, that is leading to implication or the impact of that harassment. The moment is that implication of the process in something. And of course, it's psychological violence to be able to put that in context. Yes, I also saw that you shrunk in a certain way when we spoke about ballot snatching. I think it's also very important to also put a bit of context to that. That happened in our local government. But we saw, we also follow up to see what has happened afterwards. The security agent there, it was actually snatched not by hand to group. So the security agents there were able to restore peace, and as of the time we reached out, they were also given us information that there is possibility for them to continue the process.
Okay.
So,
I forgot something, please.
Alright, so that's just on that.
I forgot something.
Oh, okay, please go ahead.
Actually, what I wanted to add, another of my question is, now that every political party is involved in vote buying, what's the way out? Every party, nobody is exempted.
Yes.
What's the way out?
No, sorry, let me add.
Yes.
Thank you. My name is one of the election response. When you were filling out those areas where we talked about integration and harassment, I didn't quite get all of them. And my sister has talked about this vote by law. You made mention of very political parties out of it, 16. Are they the only ones involved?
Everybody
said APC, YPP, AGA. Are they the only ones involved? Please, we want to, know.
All right, thank you.
In addition to
Those areas, I didn't quite get them.
In addition,
All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jason Sokusha, reporter for Quality TV. During the course of our field work, we observed that most voters are new in the system, and they were not properly educated when it comes to vote buying. Now, what should your organization do to ensure that there are so many new upcoming ones Who doesn't know about vote buying? And she was so excited when she was telling us how they paid her, how she, in fact, she was so excited. What can you do as civil society organization? What can you do? Because when you look at this vote buying, it's killing our society. And people believe that there is no two ways about it. They have to do what they feel is best for them. Secondly, we are on our way to other polling units to stop some market women in the market, and we branch to interview them, and they told us that their votes have never counted. They said they believe in their business, that we should give them money if we want them to go and vote. So if you look at it, there are so many voter parties. And I know people are doing a lot, but what can you do best to ensure that everyone is carried along and curb this vote buying years? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'll start with the first question that talked about starting vote buying, or I'll rather address the one that talked about party agent conduct and interference. Our press statement said systematic violation of electoral guidelines by agents representing primarily the APC, the Akwa, APC, and YPP. This means that every other political party may have been involved, but this is like the most prevalent cases, yes, that we saw. Then in terms of both buying and selling, I think this is a collective effort. It's not just for civil society organization, even the media. This is an offense, an electoral offense that has, is an electoral offense with, that should be prosecuted. So it is our duty as Nigerians, as Anambrians, to continue education, civic education on vote buying and selling. And then we need to, for example, you have the EFCC, ICBC, they are agencies in charge of prosecuting people who commit electoral offenses. Have we engaged these agencies to highlight, okay, this is very prevalent for this election, how can these people be brought to book? These are conversations that can be held, even engaging with them, putting it on the front burner in the media, talking about it. It's a collective effort. It's a menace that has eaten deep into the fabrics of our society, but it is something that can be tackled if we collectively put efforts together. We need to continue our jingles on civic education. We need to continue our jingles on voter education. We need to educate Nigerians on the effects of vote buying. And we need to make them understand that this is an offense and every necessary prosecution should be applied to vote buying and selling. And I think the media has a huge role to play in this aspect Media has to continuously put it to the front burner. Media has to continuously educate the people, both the young voters and even the existing ones, on the effects of vote buying and selling, especially as we head towards 2027 elections, because we are seeing this for state by-elections. Who would tell what will happen in 2027? So this shows that we need to intensify our efforts in voter education, sensitizing citizens on why this shouldn't be, as well as engaging agencies who are in charge of prosecuting electoral offenders to ensure that these offenders are being prosecuted.
Hello. These questions raised are very fundamental to what we have observed. Interestingly, voter apathy and vote buying have a correlation. If you ask me, the few of the income of the votes were motivated to vote because either they have been given something or in anticipation that they will get something. So there is even a link between these two. But as you said, we have to intensify voter education. And every stakeholder has a role to play. The government agencies, the government agencies, the civil societies, and I think we're having a conversation when we come back to the field And I was of the opinion that government agencies, some of them are here, should really begin to look at providing intervention at the grassroots level. Because we are seeing national level or Abuja-based interventions not trickling down to the grassroots. Everybody in Abuja seems to be aware or conscious of these things, but when you come down to the grassroots, people are oblivious of some of the things that is going on in Abuja. So I think voter education, we have to look at all the sectors, all the dimensions that applies. She talked about enforcement of the guidelines of the rules. Incidentally, most of these things are done in the presence of security personnel who are hand-in-hand, and we shouldn't be the case. So we should understand what are the underlying factors that is preventing these security agencies from performing their tasks. Now, as our democracy consolidates, people are failing to see a corresponding prosperity in terms of their lives and their economy. So there is a disconnect between democratic consolidation and economic prosperity. And the reward is now the decline of people participating in the democratic process. So I think the more democratic dividends, the more people will be instigated or excited to come out to vote. Unfortunately, the political class has mastered the act of this instant reward on election day to motivate voters, which is not sustainable and which is dangerous to democratic progression. So that is something that has to be looked at to enhance or improve voter participation in the election. People must relate democracy to what comes to them in terms of their economy well-being. People have to see it, people have to feel it in order for them to be eager to participate in the process. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
No, you're sorry, you are forgetting. We want the names of those local governments involved in these harassment and intimidation.
Oh, okay. In terms of the local government,
couldn't
I think it's fine. We have a dashboard that maybe after the presentation, we can even all look through it together for you to keep all of this information broken down, into the bits and granularly as we progress. And of course, I know that my colleagues will make this available for us so that we can also look at it there. But I think I will prefer that we look at the data from the dashboard. Yeah. Thank you so much. Okay, all right.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ifi Machu. I'm a member of the KDI Peace Mediation Working Group. Moving out this morning to monitor a few places because we have been in the studios receiving calls from different parts of the state to inform the Anambra of what's going on and then allow them to participate in the process. But when going out, I observed some things. The police released the figure of 5,000 policemen on the streets, Anambra State. I'm just saying, should we just accept the number they give to us, or is there something behind it? Because in those old days, during elections, you walk around, you see police vehicles moving around, and then you go to police stations, you see police officers manning the stations. But this time around, in some police stations, polling booths, there were no police officers. On the streets, there were no police officers. And then basically, they announced restriction of vehicles, vehicle movement. But some people, operating commercial vehicles, KK was there, people, they move about the way they want to. We really saw people engage in their businesses. It hasn't happened before. Like you see people opening their shops, bringing out wares, pork and all things. I even saw a vehicle fully loaded with people and then goods. Probably heading to Rio State. So what I complained, they said they had caught around Sunday where we have animals. But having moved from Onitsha to Aroma, that means they moved around without anybody asking them where they're going, and this is very dangerous. And then see people like saw scavenging, So some of these things, like one person I asked, it was a bit said, an observer, he said that maybe the apathy or road turnout of voters, we as a result of the fact people moved around their businesses. So you are engaged, you may not even see the need for you to go down to vote. Unlike before, nobody allows you to go out. So you just need to move around your area of voting and all this. So some of these things I think should be looked into. Can we ask the police actually to authenticate 55,000 police officers that they say they deployed in Anambra, because I do feel this.
Thank you, Madam Vicky. I think yours is more of a comment, and we would also ask that the media join us in asking, because our statement actually also raises concern, but we also say that the media also has an accountability platform, and also join us in doing it. As of yesterday, when we were doing a stakeholder briefing, we raised some of these concerns, and we raised it as to what we're going to be observing today. And I think our preliminary statement already spoke about our own observation and what we found out, which is very close in a certain way to what you found out when you move around also. So the question is, where is the 55,000?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is David Ade. I'm a member of the Observation Mission from the High Commission of Canada. A couple of comments to make, one question. One, I think I agree with her opinion on the amount of police officers that were actually deployed for this election. The reason is we go to some polling units and you see 2 officers and people voting. If you go to some polling units and you see close to 10, 11 officers just sitting down there and people voting. So it really raises the question of the deployment of the officers. There are some officers mentioned to us that, oh, we're not sure about where they're posted to, so they're not wrong. Even, party, I negotiations telling us, oh, we went to a wrong place, then they have to redirect them there. That's one. 2, I know that mentioned there was about 5,178 polling units. Within those cities, we went to close to about 2 different local government units, Oka, North, and you could take a drive of 15 minutes without seeing one polling station. I'm glad I was in Ondo State with the majority of people here, and other elections were in 2023 and 2019. You take, I know I didn't know the whole redistribution of polling units. However, you can take a 15 minutes drive and not see any polling unit. So ask yourself, one, is there no polling unit for that location, or do they have to go a whole long mile? And if you're telling them to go a whole long mile and they are not allowed to drive, let's be very frank again. This is my personal opinion. This is not the stand of my observation mission. So please, this is my personal opinion. But in a scenario where you're telling someone to take the 30 minutes walk to vote in the country we are in today, knowing the appetite of people towards governance and democratic process. If I went there, sure, I don't think I would come out to walk for 15 minutes or 20 minutes in order to find polling units. So it makes reference to the point of where are these 5,178 polling units. If you're taking drives and polling units we found were inside somewhere, which raises questions. And most importantly, I think I'd like to address the issue of INEC. I'm of the opinion that INEC prepares for elections with the mindset that there's going to be a low turnout. Because we went to a couple of polling units today and elections were at 8:30 and it's 10:30 and you ask them, okay, how many people have gone through this process? There's a queue at the back, right? You imagine 2 hours, how many people? And you tell me 7 people. In the polling unit, we have about 878 votes. So in a serious, let's assume the appetite for our votes is there. Are you telling me that between 8:30 a.m. and 3 p.m., let's assume we say 1 more hour extra, people that will only take 7 people in 2 hours and going to take 170 people in 5-6 hours? If it says a lot about the preparedness again, I think, again, this is my personal opinion, but I think we still have a long way to go regarding finance preparation for election. And someone from the platform that mentioned we need to take it to the grassroots level. I'll use High Commission of Canada as a case study. Drop Canada for local initiative. We fund numerous CSOs who work on youth political participation at the grassroots level. I mean, one project currently is the young political participation project with impact, and it's to address the lack of voter apathy in the grassroots level. However, if the people still don't have faith in the system, if they don't have faith in the process, no matter no amount of discussion or anything you do is going to bring them out. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think those comments are well noted. Just to say thank you for coming. Most of the things we're talking about, I remember yesterday we spoke in our statement briefing about PU voter ratio. And we spoke about in the average in the state is between 400 and 65 and 500 in terms of voter to PU ratio. And it's actually so bad in the local government, in the senatorial district like the Anambra North. Right, if we're seeing all of this within Akwa South and Akwa North, I want to also imagine what happens in all of those internals. So if you look at that, sometimes we tend to say the aspect of turnout is solely about insecurity, but I think in the real sense, data has shown that it's actually more than that. So at this point, just to say thank you so much to the stakeholders and of course to the member of the press. It's just to say that we also have our sister organization, CDD, that we do their briefing. And I think it should be any moment from now they will start at the 18 level. They actually delayed theirs for us to be able to go first. So it's also important that as we move from here, please, member of the press stakeholders, let's move to the CDD Press Center. Thank you.